Hello, this is Joe Trahan, welcoming you to the All Me podcast from the Taylor Hooton Foundation, whose mission is to enlighten the world to the truths about appearance and performance-enhancing substances. As the national leader on this subject, they communicate their educational messages through various methods, including this podcast. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show.
Hi, and welcome to the All Me podcast. This is your host, Tavis Piattoly, sports dietitian and education program manager for the Taylor Hooton Foundation. Professional athletes, especially Major League Baseball players, go through an extreme amount of stress and workload through an 8-month season. In order to ensure they have the energy to perform at the highest level, as well as recover in a timely fashion, nutrition is their secret weapon, or as what I call it, the missing link to athletic performance. While many athletes are primarily focused on their training regimens, sleeping patterns, or studying their opponents, which are all critical pieces to the performance puzzle, your top athletes, top collegiate and professional teams, are investing in fueling themselves as well as their athletes the right way. Nutrition is the catalyst that fuels all the pieces to the performance puzzle, and without good fuel, that puzzle cannot be complete. In this episode, I'm excited to talk with Jameson Taillon, starting pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Jameson and I will discuss how he takes care of his body throughout a long season, as well as in the offseason. We'll dig deep into his eating habits, how he prepares for a day when he's starting, along with his plan for road games. Jameson will enlighten us on the tips that help him recover, as well as how he stays clean with using third-party certified dietary supplements, and what being a member of the All Me Advisory Board means to him. We would like to thank our partners at Gatorade for sponsoring this All Me podcast episode.
I'm really excited about today's guest. It's someone that I've known for a while and someone that I really love watching him work. Today's guest is Jameson Taillon, starting pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Taillon was drafted by the Pirates as the second overall pick in 2010 Major League Draft. Now, Fangraphs called Taillon the best high school starting pitching prospect since Josh Beckett, and Baseball America compared him to pitchers like Steven Strasburg. Now, if you follow baseball, you know Strasburg just was voted the MVP of the World Series for the Washington Nationals and just got a nice 7-year contract for over $245 million. Also, Taillon signed a national letter of intent with Rice in November of 2009, but that really posed a challenge to the Pirates in their effort to sign him. However, hours before the signing deadline, Taillon decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to go pro. He signed with the Pirates. And then in 2016, Jamo made 10 starts before earning his first Major League call-up. He went 4-2 with the 2.04 ERA, striking out 61 in 61 innings and only walking 6. Now, on June 8th, Jameson called to make a spot start with the Pirates, facing off against fellow 2010 first-rounder Noah Syndergaard in his debut. He threw 6 innings, gave up 3 runs on 6 hits, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts. Unfortunately, did not get the decision, but eventually, after that, Clint Hurdle's like, look, we're going to option you back to AAA, but his response was, you've poured a ton of effort into this. We know we're going to get him back. Now, here's the ironic part. Garrett Cole, his former teammate, was injured. Jameson got called back. He made his second start against the Mets, threw 8 scoreless innings, carried a no-hitter into the 7th, and eventually that was broken up, but got the 4-0 victory. Spent the rest of the 2016 year with the Pirates. And in 18 starts that year, he compiled a 5-4 record with a 3.3 ERA. In 2017 was Jameson's first season in the starting rotation. Unfortunately, he was placed on the disabled list, and maybe we'll talk about that in this podcast, but pretty much went through 25 starts that year, went 8-7 with a 4.44 ERA. In 2018, Jameson spent the entire season on the roster, had a great season, 3.2 ERA, went 14-10. And last year, Jameson had a really good season, but had a couple of struggles that we'll talk about in regards to some of the things that he had when it comes to surgery. So, Jameson, welcome to the All Me podcast. Thanks so much for being a guest today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for the intro.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I was going through your bio, and I was like, man, I know I followed Jameson's work, but really looking at the specifics. I'm a baseball nerd. I love baseball. I have a huge baseball collection that I'm actually probably starting to sell now. It's something that I started when I was a kid, and it's like I used to study baseball stats. So it's like when I look at data, I'm just fascinated. I actually just bought Bill James's book, The Baseball Analytics Guide. A lot of these GMs look at it. I love baseball data. So let's dive right into this. So let's talk about off-season. First of all, how is your off-season going right now? I know you're coming off Tommy John surgery, which is a tough blow, and I know you're going to come back, but what's the off-season like for you right now?
Yeah, so I had my Tommy John surgery August 13th. So, it's not looking great for me to throw a major league pitch in the 2020 season. So this offseason's been a little different for me. In years past, you really don't have much time to sit around and rest. You're kind of just revamping and making sure you recover as best as you can, and you're kind of back on the wagon preparing for the next season. But I'm back in Houston at home. I'm doing physical therapy and working out at Fairchild Sports 4 times a week. But this off season for me is more about like movement quality, just making sure I'm healthy, making sure I'm happy, I'm mentally engaged in the process. But I'm kind of taking advantage of this off season because, like I said, I'm not preparing to be mid-season form in March like I normally would. Kind of just enjoying my off season, trying to take a step away from baseball, focus on my physical health, my mental health, make sure I'm ready to roll whenever 2021 rolls back around. So it's definitely a different off season for me. Obviously, I wish I was preparing to throw opening day again in 2020, but that's not how it's looking, and I'm kind of making the most of it.
Yeah, I know athletes could probably take that adversity and all of a sudden it could mentally break them, or they can say, you know what, like you said, let's look at the positives of this. Let's really focus on getting mentally prepared and come back strong in 2021. And I guess it kind of leads to my next question. What are you doing for fun right now? I mean, I know we're going to talk about training, but what do you do for fun? Do you guys take vacations? How's this offseason looking for just getting that mental preparation back?
Yeah, so in years past, I have to pick and choose what I take part in the off season as far as traveling goes. The month of October is usually a pretty good travel month. November is a good travel month. Knock out all my friends' weddings, do the things I need to do. And then once November, December roll around, it's really time to kind of lock it in and really be a slave to my routine. But this year, I'm kind of just being a yes man. I'm going to weddings. I'm going on trips. In years past, things I might have turned down. I feel like this year I'm not only, accepting and going to, but I'm going, and I maybe don't have to stress quite as much about, hey, I have to, wake up and work out in the morning on the road or do cardio in the morning. Not to say I'm not working hard, but, I've got 16 months to prepare for my next season as opposed to 4. So I've kind of got that long-term mindset.
Yeah, and let's talk about really this off-season training program. As you get back into the things, you said November, December, this is a critical time. Even though we're not set the pitch, coming into 2020 season, you still have to prepare like you are going to be, playing to get your body and keep your body in that shape. So what does that look like in regards to getting back to full strength? How many days a week do you train? How long? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I just recently got cleared to do pretty much full upper body workouts, which means, I was hammering my legs pretty hard 3 days a week and then doing physical therapy 3 to 4 times a week. But now that upper body is included in it, I get to do 4 workouts a week. So I'm going Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, alternating lower body, upper body, and then doing cardio on my off days, just staying active, moving around, whether it's taking a cycling class or going for a walk around the park. Those off days are just meant to be like healthy, active recovery days. And then at physical therapy, I actually just recently started doing one-hand plyometrics, which means gripping a ball, starting to stress the ligament a little bit. And like you said, I'm not going to be pitching opening day this year, but I still have to prepare my body to work a professional season this year. It's just going to come in the form of more of a rehab season, but playing catch is on the horizon. I'm working towards that goal of picking up a ball in January and starting my throwing progression. So definitely it's starting to feel a little more real now, and I'm starting to lock it in a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, we know baseball's a long, grueling season, spring training, even though you're not going to be fully there, but you're still going to be prepping and throwing like you are. And even with a long season, spring training, 162 game season, and then hopefully playoffs, we know this takes a toll on a player's body. Trying to keep that energy level and focus year round can be really difficult. Let's talk about how you stay in shape, really, how, especially during the season as a pitcher. Do you have a specific routine after you pitch that helps you recover and keep your arm fresh?
Yeah, so every pitcher has a pretty specific routine that's tailored to their body and to their liking. I'm lucky that I have so many great people in my corner, but I stay in touch with my trainers at Fairchild Sports here in Houston, and they stay engaged with the organization, and they communicate with our team physical therapists and our team strength coaches. So let's say I start a game, let's hopefully say I throw 7 innings. The next day I'll lift lower body. I'll do cardio, try to sweat, flush out my body. I try to get after the workout hard because I have, 4 days ahead of me to recover until my next start. But at the same time, I have to realize that, if you throw 7 innings and 100 pitches, you just did a toll on your body. So you don't want to I'm not going to be squatting what I would squat in the off season the day after I pitch. And then day 2, I throw a bullpen. I do upper body work, shoulder work, arm care routine, forearm routine, training room work, correctives. And then days 3 and 4 leading up to your start are more about staying active, starting to do more mental preparation, scouting, video work, thinking about what lineup I might be facing. It gets way more specific from there, but that's kind of the general outline of what I do in season.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I don't think a lot of our young pitchers, high school kids, 14, 18, year-round stuff, understand what it takes to truly recover. And it kind of leads to my next question, because this was one of the most exciting World Series I can remember, just where it's gone, Game 7, watching, the comeback the Nats had. And when I was watching the playoffs, watching the World Series, you see people like Matt Scherzer and Garrett Cole, your aces, coming in to be used in short rest just because, hey, these are guys that are available at all times. So how does that arm feel 2 days after maybe throwing 80 to 100 pitches? I mean, are there any concerns with like injuring a tendon or joint, or are you just like, hey, I'm going to do what I got to do to win?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think this postseason you definitely saw more reliance on starting pitching. And even in Game 7, you saw Patrick Corbin come out of the bullpen, who's normally a starter. So it seems like it's kind of that all hands on deck approach. Obviously, you don't want to be crazy and risk injury on anybody, but I would think it'd be more at risk at the beginning of the season, if you were to pitch on short rest, just because your body's not quite built up to that midseason form. But some of those guys that are pitching on short rest in the playoffs were the Garretts and the Scherzers of the world. Were at 230 innings at that point, the Verlanders. So I've never done it. I've never had to pitch on short rest in the major leagues, but I've thrown bullpens where I felt like I could pitch that day, but your velocity might not be able to stay the same for 7 innings, but you can give it all you got for a couple innings.
Yeah, that's got to be tough. Now, one thing I thought that was really cool. Last year, you were the Pirates opening day starting pitcher last year, which that had to be a huge honor. So first question is, really, how did that feel? And did you have any butterflies on that first opening day?
Yeah, it was cool. I had some pretty high expectations for this past season. Obviously, it didn't quite go the way I had planned, but going into the season, being named the opening day starter, growing up when you're a kid and you hear the word opening day starter, I was a huge baseball fan growing up, and opening day starters just kind of had that allure to them. It's just a title, but at the same time, it seems to be a little more than that. It means you're the guy for that season that's going to set the tone and that has the respect of your teammates. And if you're the opening day starter, it means you might get a couple more turns through the rotation throughout the year just because you're starting it off first. So we were in Cincinnati on the road. I definitely had some adrenaline, and pitching in Cincinnati with a completely sold out and rowdy crowd was pretty neat. I've played in some rain delays there in the middle of summer where the stands aren't packed like that. So, the atmosphere was great. The weather was beautiful. They put out a great lineup. It was just a day I'm never going to forget. I had my girlfriend in the stands, I had my dad there. So hopefully I have many more opening days, but if that's the only one I get, it's a pretty cool memory to have.
Yeah, what a great honor. Congrats on that. And looking forward to, as you recover, seeing you get back into that rotation and getting that number 1 spot. Let's talk about that game day routine. Can we walk our listeners through that preparation? How do you prepare on a day where you're pitching? Are there any specific superstitions, food you eat, or strategies that you take?
So I'm not a very superstitious guy. There's definitely a certain routine I go through. It depends, day game, night game, what team I'm playing. Are we at home? Are we on the road? But just generally speaking, I try to get a really, really good night's rest. I wake up in the morning. I like to be pretty active. So that might mean just going for an easy walk to breakfast and coffee and getting some fresh air and moving around. I don't like just sitting in my hotel room or in my bed all day resting up. I feel like I get a lot of nervous energy if I do that. So go for a stroll in the morning, maybe come back, chill for a bit, play some video games. While I'm playing video games, I'll have all of my scouting reports out on the table or desk next to me, and I'll kind of be glancing through them, just getting a general feel. I'm trying to put together what the lineup's going to look like in my head. And I'm thinking about, have I faced these guys in the past? What did I do to them in the past? What worked? What didn't work? And then I'll head to the field around 3 or 4 o'clock. I always cut my nails on the day I pitch. Nail care is very important for pitchers. I'll have my playlist all set up, my music, my headphones ready to go. I'll do just light training room stuff leading up to when my routine really starts. I'll foam roll. I'll be doing hip reset movements. And then once 5:50 rolls around for a 7 o'clock game, I get a stretch in the training room. And then I go into the weight room and start doing all my movements. So I ride the bike. I do squats, lunges. I do kettlebell carries. I'm a pretty hypermobile guy, so I'm flexible. Instead of just stretching and doing static stretching, I like to move, put some weights in my hands and kind of feel like I'm tightening everything up, do bands, and I like to feel strong. There's no specific food I eat, but I do pay attention to exactly what I'm putting in my body. That day before I pitch and my start day, definitely less processed foods. I'm not eating much dairy. I try to limit my gluten intake. I hydrate like crazy. So it's not one specific thing I'm tied to, but it's overall a mindset of I'm going to be as healthy as I can going into the start.
Okay, it sounds like the preparation for pitching is more preparation than a high school girl gets ready for prom. There's just so many different steps that you announce. But you know what? I think that's great to have that methodical approach just because there's so much that goes into it. And if something goes wrong, I've talked to former pitchers and, they like, look, if I do something different that I didn't do before that worked, it could mess me up mentally. And I know there's a lot of mental focus when it comes to that. So really.
Yeah, I try not to make my routine like a crutch, per se. Like if I'm on the road and Wrigley Field doesn't have the exact foam roller that I need, I try not to let that throw me off my game. I try to be as flexible as possible. Or if, a kitchen on the road doesn't have a meal I would normally eat, I try to be able to pivot and just make good decisions and not let that completely derail my day. But definitely, I would need like a sheet of paper to write everything down that I do. And every pitcher is different, but at the same time, we're more similar than you would think. We've all got some crazy routines that we do.
Absolutely. As a sports dietitian, I want to know more about those nutrition habits like throughout a season because teams now are investing a lot more time and money into making sure you guys are not only well-fueled, but you have access to, high-performance sports dietitians to fuel your players. So how do you keep your body fueled throughout a 162-game season? And are there any specific foods that you focus on or types of foods just to help you stay, high energy, recovery, et cetera?
So I got drafted in 2010, like you mentioned earlier. And just since I got drafted until this year, the health and money and the resources that teams are putting towards diet, overall nutrition, it's groundbreaking. It's incredible what teams are doing for their players now. We all have nutritionists on staff. They're always at our disposal if we want a meal plan or if we want to work with them in season. They're in charge now of ordering our food on the road to the clubhouses. So instead of having the clubhouse managers order fried chicken or whatever it may be, now our nutritionists for the team are placing all of our orders. So you're always going to find avocados in the clubhouses. You're going to find healthy gluten-free bread. You might have a keg of kombucha in there. You're going to get lean protein, and you're going to have veggies every day. And I've heard even in our minor league system, each level has a nutritionist kind of stationed with them or an intern that gets a certain allocation of money every day. And they'll go to, Whole Foods or a local grocery store and make sure these kids are taken care of in the clubhouse. So it's not just the peanut butter and jelly anymore in the minor leagues even. I think teams realize that diet is so important to your recovery and to your health and your long-term sustainability that they're putting a lot of money towards it.
Yeah, a lot of the teams now have sports dietitians breaking down to the branches of the minor league system, and that's good because that lifestyle, and some of those guys are on limited budgets to where they have very little money, and as they try to get their way up, it's important to take care of their body.
Yeah, it had to happen. It was just a matter of when, not if it was going to happen. But, I'm not one of those grumpy older players now that's like, oh, back in our day, we were just eating peanut butter and jelly. I'm happy that they've put this into the minor league. It needed to happen. I mean, you're talking about professional athletes, and like you said, they don't make a ton of money in the minor league. So if you want the best performance out of your players, it had to happen.
What about the challenges? Now, you guys are going from city to city. What are some of the biggest challenges you face when you try to fuel your body during a long season?
The number one challenge is probably going to be schedule. Day games, night games, sleep schedule, stress. And as a starting pitcher, we have plenty of downtime. So just bored eating. If I'll be inside scouting or whatever, I have to be careful not to just keep eating the peanut butter pretzels or whatever's in front of me, or, some guys will bring cookies or donuts in. And then our team chef at home is brilliant. He's phenomenal. He cooks extremely healthy meals, and he works with local farms, but at the same time, he's Italian, and his wife's always in there making us desserts. So I have to be careful to really monitor what I'm putting in my body. But being on the road, if our schedule permits, there's so many great restaurants on the road that our guys will go out to, and you get invitations to go to dinners and stuff that I have a tough time turning down, but I also have to be careful with it.
Yeah, and there's no such thing as that perfect diet. So, there's no reason to eliminate foods. I think in society today, we get so obsessed with we can only eat so many types of foods, and
right.
You can't eat this. And it's look, we got to be realistic. So, but at the same time, obviously you're taking care of your body. Are there any foods that you say, all right, I'm going to really limit these foods during the season because I know I don't feel great if I eat them?
Yeah. So in season, I really don't eat dairy. I've just learned that I have an inflammatory response to specific dairy items. So ice cream for me is completely off limits. My stomach will feel terrible if I have ice cream. I'll feel bloated. I'll feel swollen. I feel like I won't recover properly. But kind of like you were saying, I'm not overly crazy about my diet as far as I need to log every single thing and every single calorie, but I just try to have more good days than bad days of eating. And I think I used to be a little too hard on myself. I used to, if I went out to eat and had a slice of pizza, I'd be really upset with myself. And now it's okay, I had the piece of pizza. Now I need to put together a couple really good days of eating, but I'm not as hard on myself now at age 28 as I was when I was 23.
Yeah. Now I've seen that in a lot of different clients in the past. It's just, they look at that and it's sabotage. Oh, I ate this. Oh, everything else is messed up. Let's just let it all go.
Right. Let's get back on track, put together some good days, and you'll be right where you need to be.
Yeah, that's the mindset to have. Now, pre-pitching meal. Is there a specific, I know we you touched on it earlier, but is there anything specific you say, all right, this is what I'm going to eat pre-pitching, or is it no, I'm just going to eat really something healthy and what's available?
Yeah, so I'll take you through kind of a day. So if I wake up around 8:30 or 9, I'm going to have a good coffee. Coffee's my thing. I'm going to have some sort of omelet or scramble. And then as I work towards lunch, it's going to be some sort of spinach salad or a lean protein with veggies. And then around 4:30 or 5, that's kind of right where I can get my last little bite of food in because I start getting butterflies and get nervous. But one thing I'm pretty consistent with is I have a banana with peanut butter lathered all over it at 4:30 or 5. I've just found I get some energy from that, and my body can take it when I'm nervous. So that's kind of if I had one superstition, that would probably be it.
Cool. Now, let's talk about some of your teammates. We don't need to know names, but are there any guys that you look at and go, and what they're eating and go, that's not really what you should be eating right now?
Oh, yeah. In the big leagues, our flights, we have Chick-fil-A and we can order off the menu also. There's healthy options. So we've got healthy snacks, but there's also a dessert tray that comes by. And without naming names, there's a couple players that'll grab a Snickers, peanut M&Ms, an ice cream bar, Chick-fil-A sandwich, and crush a couple beers. But at the same time, they're pretty shredded, so I can't be talking there. The most shocking one I've ever seen actually was in big league spring training a couple of years ago. We had a non-roster invite who had never been to a big league camp before. And I think he was pitching at a 1:00 game. And at 12:15 in the afternoon, he's eating a cookie and drinking a glass of milk. And I'm thinking dude, it's 85 degrees. How are you drinking milk? How are you eating a cookie right now? But ignorance is bliss. You went out and pitched really well. So just goes to show you, I guess, sometimes it's all about what you do on the field. You want to put yourself in the best position to succeed, but at the same time, it's all about what you do when you're out there.
I think Kevin Gausman used to eat a donut between every inning. That was his superstition when he was at LSU. And then when he got drafted by the Orioles, I heard he still did that. I don't know if that's true, but you never know. You just never know what works for some of these guys.
Yeah, if it gives you an edge in your head, then you have an edge.
Yeah. All right, we're going to shift. A couple more questions. I want to shift in kind of the world of supplements now. I know supplements can be a big part of a player's diet when it comes to just recovery, building muscle, energy, whatever it is. Are there any specific vitamins or supplements you take? And if so, what's the purpose of using them?
Yeah, so I'm actually still taking the Thorne AM and PM multivitamin daily. That's kind of just general overall health for me. I feel like it hits a lot of checkpoints and what I'm looking for. I take turmeric pills for anti-inflammatories. I take vitamin D, and that partly has to do with my cancer diagnosis. I had a doctor tell me that vitamin D is extremely important going forward. I take a Brain Armor fish oil every day. That's for brain clarity. It has MCT oil in it also. What else do I take? I take, actually, probably my most important supplement I take that I've noticed the biggest difference from is I take a clean probiotic every single day. I can't miss it. I've just noticed that's really helped my digestive tract. It's helped my alertness, my awakeness. I haven't been getting sick. I rarely get colds or the sniffles. So the probiotic has been really a game changer or life changer for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love the Thorne Multi. You mentioned the AM, PM, the probiotic, so important for gut health. And there's so much we're still learning now about the importance of the gut microbiome. And then obviously the omega-3 for anti-inflammatory brain health. Vitamin D, I mean, those are all incredible, key, important nutrients. Now, when we talk about supplementation, especially Major League Baseball, they have probably the strictest policy when it comes to using NSF for sports certified supplements. How important is this for players to make sure they help them stay clean? Do you ever see players not using an NSF for sports supplement and go, hey, that's not a good idea?
I got to be honest, in the big leagues, we're pretty spoiled. Like, we just have so many supplements at our disposal that's provided by the team. It might even be, I should know this because I'm our team player rep for the union, but it might even be in our collective bargaining agreement that the team has to supply NSF certified for sport supplements to players in the big leagues. So we're pretty spoiled, man. I mean, we can pretty much get anything we want that is certified. I think back in the day, some guys would kind of risk it for pre-workouts. One might not be on the list as certified, but they thought it was okay, or it used to be certified, and guys wouldn't be ready to give up their pre-workout. But I really don't see guys in our locker room spraying off of the NSF certified for sport. And, you know, why would you? There's such a big list. The list is growing every year, and it's just not worth the stress of wondering what you took was proper.
Yeah, we see pre-workouts today. They contain anything from synephrine, a banned substance. And you mentioned that it used to be certified. And again, if it's not certified, there is no reason anyone should take a product, especially if they're getting drug tested. Because we know Major League Baseball has a pretty strict drug testing policy for you guys.
Yeah, they do. I mean, I've already been tested 3 times this offseason. So if guys think they're going to get away with anything in the offseason, it's just not going to happen. So just stick to what's legal and what's certified, and that should be enough if you're training properly and eating properly.
And that leads to my next question. Really, you decided a few years ago to join the Taylor Hooton Foundation All Me Advisory Board. Why did you decide to join, and what does All Me mean to you?
Yeah, so I actually thought my invitation to join the board for the All Me PED-free Foundation, it linked up with a time in my life where I feel like my awareness to health and to fitness, I was kind of flipping a script in my life and really becoming aware of what I was putting in my body. And I was taking pride in my workouts, and I saw a huge change in my body and my happiness when I did that. So I thought it was a no-brainer for me to join the foundation. I'm a big believer in diet and sleep and working out and fitness and activity level, especially in kids, getting outside, being active. So I just thought it was cool how it linked up with that time in my life where I felt like I was confident and ready to speak out about living a healthy, PED-free lifestyle.
Yeah, and it's so inspiring, and that's kind of really our youth look up to you guys, and they say, look, I want to do what Jameson's doing. I want to do what Anthony Rendon's. I want to be the next Garrett Cole. You know, so how do you try to inspire youth athletes to also live All Me?
Well, number one, I think, is not being afraid to speak about it. Like you said, I mean, I'm sure more look up to a guy like Rendon or Garrett than me, but, you know, if anyone's looking up to you, or just one kid even looks up to you, and you're leading by example and you're not afraid to speak out about it, and they see what you're doing, I think that's stronger than any peer pressure a kid could get at school. So I think, you know, we've all been to school. We've all felt peer pressure to try things. So if your role models and your heroes are living the right way and putting the right things in their body, that's a pretty good excuse not to try things. You know, hey, I don't want to try this. Anthony Rendon doesn't do it, so why should I do it? So I think, you know, we have a lot of eyes on us, and guys are aware of that. And if we can just even lead by example and put on a shirt, not be afraid to run a camp or speak out about it, we can make a difference.
I love it. Yeah, that is an incredible response and great feedback, especially for our youth listeners that are going to be hearing this. Now, my final question for you before we get into our curveball questions. Really, you've made it to the pinnacle of your sport, something a lot of kids dream about and they're going to dream about for the rest of their lives. What is one thing that you would like to share with people listening to the podcast that you wish someone would have shared with you when you were younger?
Oh, boy. That's a tough question. Man, I would probably actually, like, if I could go back in time and give myself any advice, I would say it's okay to have some balance in your life, honestly. I was so obsessed with baseball. My mom would take me on a trip in the summer and I'd miss a couple tournaments and I thought the world was ending. But, you know, missing a tournament here or there, having fun and being a kid, it's all right every once in a while too. But on the flip side, the discipline it takes to get to this point is pretty incredible. I've played with a lot of great teammates over the years that never made it. And when you're in the major leagues, you can see the work ethic and the discipline that everyone around you has. And it's pretty inspiring. I mean, these guys around us are truly the best at what they do. And I get to share a locker room with the best in the world. And it's not just luck or blessings that they're there. There's hard work that goes into it. And it's real.
Yeah, I love that word balance because we need it in our life no matter what it is. And, you know, I'm trying to teach that to my 8-year-old daughter. And it's going to be a process, but, you know, it's just something that is so important is balance. Now, curveball round, 3 questions. These are questions you have no idea what I'm about to ask you. I don't think they're going to be super difficult, but, you know, I'm always like, you know, what can I ask this guest? This is going to be kind of cool. So my first question is kind of a baseball-related question. Who is one hitter you just hate to see coming up into that on-deck circle that you face each year? Or someone that you know that just has your number. You're like, oh, I got to face this guy again, really?
Yeah, I'll give you 2 answers there, and they jump out at me real quick. I'm going to say, if you just want to go off numbers alone, Javi Baez on the Cubs.
The Cubs.
Yeah, he's tough for me. It's like I know he chases a lot, so I'll put so much pressure on myself to bounce a pitch or not give him anything to hit. And the dude still hits anything I throw. There was a pretty viral video of him hitting a curveball off of me that bounced in the dirt. He threw his bat at it and still got a hit off of me. So, I mean, he's hit a couple home runs off me, a couple doubles, but he's also got some, like, one-handed hits off of pitches that were, like, in the other batter's box, and that's when you know a guy has your number. So I'm not afraid to face him. I enjoy it. I think he's such a great player. He has such great energy. He's so fun to compete against. But he's just gotten the best of me a couple times. Then one other answer that's pretty surprising is Jose Peraza, who was on the Reds. He just got non-tendered, but that dude's numbers off me are insane. Like, I'll throw a 96-mile-an-hour fastball inside on the black, and he'll crush a home run off of me. And then I'll watch some of my teammates throw, like, an 88-mile-an-hour fastball middle up, and he'll pop it up or something. I'm like, maybe I should just try that because what I'm doing is not working. Maybe I should just throw it down the middle against him. Yeah,
baseball's a strange sport. As a lifelong Cubs fan, I'm like, when Javi gets 0-2, I'm like, oh, here comes the slider. And all of a sudden, you're like, wait, how did he hit that? It's funny.
Yep. Yeah, these guys are incredible. I mean, I think there's something to it. When guys have really good numbers against you, I think there's some guys that just see you a little better. Like, there's no explanation for it, but, like, Javi Baez just sees the ball out of my hand well. And I've just convinced myself it's not me, it's him.
Yeah. So another baseball question for our kid listeners, for coaches, young coaches. Kids today are playing so much baseball year-round. What advice would you give to those coaches or young kids, especially young pitchers, about throwing year-round? Anything that you would want to advise them maybe not to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think playing baseball is great. I think, you know, to get really good, you got to practice, you got to play. But like the word we said earlier, balance, play different positions. Even if you're not, I would love it if every kid played multiple sports. But, you know, if you're only going to play baseball, play first, pitch, play left, play right, DH. If you're a young coach and you have a talented pitcher, try to recognize that and not burn them out young. You know, winning tournaments when you're 11 and 12 years old is great, but it's not worth wasting a guy's talent and livelihood over. So just be careful. Make sure you have rest, downtime, and you know, to coaches, I hope kids get as lucky as I did growing up. I had some coaches that realized I had something when I was young and they didn't take advantage of me.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, the balance, we go back to balance again. So important. Kids are doing so much today, and, you know, good to see they have that balance. Last question, more about you, but really something, you know, what is something that our audience may not know about you as a person, or just anything that you would want them to know that they like, wow, that's pretty cool?
Well, if you go on my Instagram, it's not that big of a secret, but I'm obsessed with coffee, and that's my pre-workout. I hate pre-workouts. They make me itch. They don't do anything for me. So my pre-workout is coffee. I make cold brew at home. I make pour-overs at home. I make French presses at home. I've always got cool bags of coffee that I pick up on road trips. When I go out of town, that's kind of like my souvenir I bring back. I bring back coffee from the best places I go to on the road. So I'm like super obsessed with it. I'm a scientist with it. I measure the exact amount of coffee to water ratio I'm using. I know exactly the temperature of the water I'm using in my coffee is. So that's like my passion away from baseball.
So when your career is over, my guess is you're not going to go into broadcasting. You're going to open up Jameson Taillon's coffee shop.
Yeah, I would actually love that. And the goal would not be to make a ton of money off of it. I just want a place I can go hang out, make good coffee, and network and meet cool people. Yeah, I've definitely thought of some ideas, maybe starting like a mobile coffee truck where I go around town and post up and make coffees at different locations or something.
Yeah, that's awesome. Jameson, this was so much fun. I really appreciate your time, everything you've done to be part of our advisory board, but most importantly, taking time out of your busy recovery, rehab, and also off season to be with us today. Thank you so much for the time, and really look forward to having you back on in the future.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tavis.
And you have a wonderful thanks so much. Take care.
Well, that's it for today's show. Thanks for listening to the All Me podcast from the Taylor Hooton Foundation, a nonprofit organization leading a national campaign to enlighten people to the truths about appearance and performance-enhancing substances and inspiring people to live and compete without the use of these substances. Please be sure to subscribe to our podcast and tune in to our next episode.